our chat so soon, but I just keep reflecting on things, especially as the year is closing. Yes, I am driving. This is totally unsafe. No, I'm not driving. You didn't hear that. Anyway, just pretend that I'm talking to a friend while driving. I'm not. I'm still keeping my eyes on the road and making sure I know where I'm going. Okay, so today what I was thinking about is a really helpful way to stay organized are systems and protocols. So something that's been coming up a lot for us right now as a leadership team is student incidents and behaviors, investigations, crises, etc., and alerts for any like self-harm or like explicit things, all the things. The main categories are like, drugs or alcohol or inappropriate like sexual content or skipping and fighting and technology usage that's not really appropriate. And we keep having to, follow this protocol. So I'm going to say it for myself as well, so then I know how I can follow it. And hopefully this will help increase the efficiency of completing these protocols. So first, if there's an incident, you need to pull the students, get a statement. You need to document that statement. And for me, I upload it into a Drive folder, so then I can access it and easily share the links and share it across different parties. And I keep it in the grade level folder, so then it's easy to find it. And it's organized. Next, you need to award the consequences, contact parents, make sure parents are aware of any consequences. If it's a suspension or in-school suspension or any kind of like coding, you need to put that into the system. That would be the next step. Any other like school consequences. So for us, we have like deductions on their paychecks. I would document that there. And just make sure you document. The last step is you need to communicate with all stakeholders. So if they're going to be suspended, then you need to let the teachers know. If there's like an in-school suspension where they are in like a specific detention room, you need to let the detention teacher, in-school suspension teacher know, and communicate via email. I sometimes share the statements depending on the content or nature, so then teachers have context and it saves me some writing on the context. And then I explain the next steps. So context, I let them know parents have been communicated with. I explain the next steps on what's going to happen, and then I explain the follow-up. One thing that is a little bit of an extra step if someone gets an out-of-school suspension is that student is not able to come back until we have a parent conference with the parent in order to stamp, okay, what is going to be the next step after you've done this behavior? How are we going to follow up with it? How are we going to hold you accountable? And then take notes at this parent conference meeting as well, so that you have the documentation and you can just keep track of it in a Google Doc. You can turn on like the title or heading for a certain part, so then it can just be uploaded into reverse chronological order. You can go to the outline feature, so that way you can see like what previous context has happened, if any previous meetings have happened, and just keep all documentation for parent conferences in that one Google Doc for that student. So that way, if I'm on parent conference number 3 now, I can just scroll down onto my Google Doc and see what has already been communicated, what did we say was the follow-up, did we hold that up, and it just makes it a lot easier. Last step and hack is basically to save templates for the documentation that you're going to do or give students. So for example, if I know that no matter what incident I have, I need to document this incident and send follow-up, then I'm going to save a template and have like my heading, so then I can just easily fill it in. So for example, if I'm sending teachers on the student got out of school suspended, I'm going to put for the first part context. I'm going to give next steps next, just because sometimes the emails get long and then they don't need to read everything, but it's just helpful to have everything. So context, next steps, / any action items if you're giving anyone any action items. And then if they need more context, I'll put it at the bottom. And I let them know, like in the first few sentences, like what was the consequence, what has been done. I've already contacted parents, and whether the student is going to be in school suspension or out of school suspension, and then context. And then for the next steps, oftentimes it is some kind of restorative action. So we need to make sure we're healing any damage that's been done, repairing harm, repairing relationships if it stemmed from a hurt relationship, because the suspensions are not going to solve the problem if you're not having these conversations and making sure like the emotional aspects are healed or the relationship aspects are healed. Like you really have to pay attention to that with children and parents and anyone. So that's really important. And then if there's any other information, I'll put it at the bottom. I'll link the context because since I saved it to the drive folder, I have a link for it now. And maybe I'll link the parent conference notes if teachers need that context so then they can reference it. But yes, systems, templates, document, use Drive because then you can just get links for things, makes it so much easier to save and send. And then you can embed the links on your email so it doesn't look like the super long Drive link in there. It's a little cleaner. Yes. And I'm glad I recorded this video. So look at me documenting my protocol to make it a little easier in the future, and it'll make it easier to refer back to in case I'm feeling overwhelmed. One little extra thing that maybe could help is if you already have like your ducks in a row with the steps in the context, you could delegate maybe to like another coworker who's on your leadership team who has the context so they can do the drafting of the email, because that part does take a little bit of time. But if they have the template, they have the context and the information, and they know where to find the links, then you could delegate it and make it a little easier. But that's my advice. If you are feeling overwhelmed, understaffed, you have a lot of stuff going on at school, and especially at the end of the school year, we've been in person since October, there's just so much that needs to be done, can be done, and sometimes you just feel like you don't have the manpower. But again, feeling optimistic and positive, we got this, growing, learning, and make sure we're keeping school a fun, safe, and inclusive environment.